Welcome back to another episode of Ignorance is Not Bliss. We are here today with my stepfather and Evil Jamie's dad. He is a builder. He's a longtime construction mastermind, and he has been working in the contracting business for a long time. And so we're gonna ask him a couple questions to get his story and figure out what it takes to be the best in California at the contracting business. So the first thing I want to ask you, if you could just sum up, just give us a quick summary of your life, like 5 minutes, just basic. Where were you born? What happened? You went to school, you got your job.
Born in the Mojave Desert. Lived on a naval base for the first 7 years, and then I bounced around California and Michigan and Europe. And now we're in Central California. Started building right out of high school and became a licensed contractor when I was 23. And been doing it ever since. Mostly I just do remodels. I do build houses, but mostly for myself. But that's about it.
Okay. What's your favorite automobile?
That would have to be the GT40 Ford. And I loved that car long before the movie came out. Because I remember the story. And I had an old Ford. And essentially the same engine that was in that car. It was an FE series motor. It wasn't the exact same motor, but they had interchangeable parts. And I just love the story of Americans kicking the shit out of Ferrari at their own game in Europe.
So that is the car from the movie.
That is the car from the movie.
Ford Ferrari.
Yep.
So the one they developed to.
So it was an amazing car, and that particular motor originally came out in the 1950s of the 332. So it was a big block with a small displacement, and they just kept modifying it and making it larger and larger. And then Carroll Shelby came about and took the motor and it didn't actually survive very well because it had a very poor oiling system. So he revised the block entirely and made it into a side oiler. So it would prioritize the main oiling system, and it would survive a 24-hour Le Mans run after that. And then he also ran those in the Cobras.
Okay. So would you have been really pissed off if the Italians won that race?
Well, I was 1 year old, so
why did they lose? Like, did the Italians kind of get lazy?
Well, the Italians prioritized technology, so they had very small engines that were very high performance and really technical for their time. So 4 valves per cylinder, double air cams. I don't know if they had fuel injection back then, but that was their priority. And they were a stunningly beautiful car. But the rule books allowed us the Americans to use very large engines, which were not sophisticated. I mean, that was originally...
They're way simpler.
Much, much simpler. So push rod motors, and they're still viable today. I mean, the double over cam stuff can produce more per cubic inch, but it doesn't necessarily produce more pound for pound. Your power weight ratio is not necessarily better.
So sorry to cut you off.
And it's a much larger package externally, so the push rod motor is still going to be around for quite some time.
What do you think about the new Tesla semi trucks? Are those going to be viable, you think?
Nah, they're pretty fucking gay.
Oh, Elon Musk gets a down vote.
Well, there's a lot of problems.
Would you drive a Cybertruck if someone gave it to you for half off?
I don't know if I was gay, yeah, sure.
Oh, shit. Damn, really? He's really not feeling... Okay, and then what would you say is your favorite, building of all time, or, I guess city, you could say, architecture?
City, well, I love Southern Europe, and we travel there fairly often. And a lot of stuff, it's hundreds of years old, the Middle Ages kind of thing. It was a big boom. And one of the reasons why it was a big boom is because global warming.
Oh.
Yeah, so actually the Middle Ages were warmer than they are today. In fact, if you look at the last 10,000 years, we're about 3 degrees Celsius below average. So
what's that? 3 to Fahrenheit? What is that? 3 degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit? Like, what is that? Like,
Well, it's 3 degrees Celsius, which is probably like 5 or 6 degrees Fahrenheit.
It's relative to the actual.
honestly, the 5 to 6 degrees makes a fucking huge difference, though. It really does.
It does, but we're still below average if you look at the more appropriate timeline.
Yeah.
Because we're hyper focused on the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, which was also towards the middle or end of the Little Ice Age, which lasted 300 years, and was the coldest period of time in the last since the last major ice age, which is around 12,000 years ago.
The Younger Dryas or whatever.
But the Younger Dryas was a period of time where the temperature spiked up and then it spiked way back down again. And then about 10,000 years ago, it leveled out. So really, if you're looking to see what the climate is doing, you need to take that period of time, the last 10,000 years, to get a much better idea of what's going on. So clearly, what's going on with the climate crisis horseshit, something else is behind it. There's people that are using this to frighten people into behaving in certain ways. And if I had to guess who was the major pawn or major player behind all of this, I would have to say it's the globalists. And the reality is you'll never have a one world government unless you have a crisis, real or imagined, that would unite the entire world around one thing. And they have a saying, it's actually even on their website, their webpage, it says, "You will have nothing and you'll be happy."
Yeah.
Which I think is the ultimate goal of the globalists. They want a centralized sort of socialist, communist, fascist kind of government that controls the entire world, and the rest of us have absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
That's actually their statement.
We were driving to get this mattress, and where we picked it up was one of those new developments out there by Topgolf. And
What developments?
it was just a new housing development out by Topgolf right now when we were going to get that mattress. And all the houses had the smallest backyards, little boxes right next to each other, all exactly the same.
Well, I don't think that's actually what they want. They want you,
I know, but I'm just saying we're like, it's like that just made me think of like, it's like, oh my God, like we're just shrinking down into like these small confined spaces, and it's like, we're getting there. It's like, look at what happened with LA when all those houses burned down and they can't even build them back up. It's because they want to rebuild.
They want to rezone everything, and they want it to be low-income housing and with high density. And the reality is they had a lot of these plans pre-done before the fire ripped through there.
Yeah.
And obviously, incompetence played a massive role in the intensity.
They didn't have water in the fire hydrants. Like, how the fuck you got the richest thing?
No. It's global warming. Global warming is what caused those fires.
It's because you got the DEI motherfuckers making like $200,000 a year, and then when a fire happens, there's no fucking fire in the water in the fire hydrants. Like right before too, they had that ad with this stupid lesbian bitch that was like, she was like, "I'm the new fire chief of LA," and then right after that, LA burned, and I think she got fired. But
I'm qualifying because
I was like,
I licked vagina.
oh my God, there it is. That worked out well for him. So
yeah, and the reservoir is still empty.
Okay, so if you had to pick one building, what would you say? Favorite building?
Favorite building? I don't know if I have a favorite building.
The Coliseum?
The Coliseum is fucking amazing.
I never went, but that's like the one reason.
The Acropolis, yeah, but there's not that much left of it. There's no roof. They're actually rebuilding it. So it's in a lot better shape than it was maybe 100 years ago. But of course, the Greeks are 500 years older, and so there's 500 years more decay. The Colosseum also, it was a lot of it was taken down with a massive earthquake. So the original structure, there's not a ton of it left, and they've had to rebuild large sections of it. The Pantheon, on the other hand, that is in really remarkable shape for 2,000 years old. And that's a 2,000-year-old concrete structure. In fact, it's the oldest concrete structure in the world surviving, and they just made it massively thick.
Yeah.
And they made it out of the type of concrete that we don't really have the ability to replicate.
Yeah.
And something that lasts so long, because our current concrete, which is based on Portland cement, which is burned lime, takes about 100 years to fully reach its ultimate hardness, and then it begins to decay after that. So it's not a long-term strategy.
Yeah, their concrete, when it cracks, it starts to remend itself, right?
Yeah, even in salt water.
It's incredible. So very interesting stuff. All right, so I have another question for you. What did you do to your parents to make them leave you at an orphanage? Did you shit your pants? Or...
Maybe I was just too ugly. I don't know.
So what was the whole story there? Because I think this is pretty interesting.
Well, my parents got divorced. It was quite nasty. My first memory was my dad beating the shit out of mom, and maybe vice versa. I don't know. But I was only, say, 4 years old, 5 years old, so it's not like my memory is that clear on what was going on. But my mother came out of it with a broken back. She was a little nuts. In fact, I think she was probably bipolar. But a very interesting person. She was an artist. So I ended up in Germany. She hooked up with a boyfriend. I'm pretty sure my father signed away his rights to us because he wanted to move on with his life, probably without us. But anyway, mother ended up in a insane asylum, and my brother and I ended up in a foster home for a period of time. I don't know how long that was, but the lady that ran it was pretty evil. Kept me confined to a crib most of the day because I was a little bit fucked in the head from childhood trauma. So I went to bed. So she kept me in a crib because I was a baby. Only babies went to bed.
Oh, so you ended up getting picked up by your grandma?
Not exactly. So after that, my dad came to pick us up in Europe. This was Germany. But he took his sweet time getting there because he had to see the sights on the way there. And then he grabbed in all fairness, I'm not sure that he was absolutely sure of what was going on.
Yeah.
But I think he probably was. But he took my older brother and went and visited some relatives in Denmark and left me with bipolar mom, who I loved, but mental illness. But anyway, then we came back. My father remarried. And she was, or it still is, a little crazy. The typical Jewish mother. And I still love her, but...
So you had a Jewish stepmother?
Jewish stepmother. I didn't get along with her at the time, but, thinking back on it, we're not her biological kids. So
she did all right.
I think she did the best she can, but she was, not enormously sane. And really a full-on Marxist.
Oh, so she was a Jewish Marxist. And that seems to be like they like
what you think?
No, they seem to like be pushing globalism and Marxism kind of like because I think they like it to destroy countries, But I don't know. Are the Jewish people kind of Marxist usually, or?
Well, left-wing, you would think that they'd be right-wing because conservatism really means traditionalism. It's preserving tradition and preserving money, preserving resources, that sort of thing, conserving them.
Yeah.
And the religion is very conservative in that they reenact every scene from the Bible and every holiday. So, I mean, in that respect, they're extremely conservative, but they tend to vote primarily left. And I think it's because, at least as in part, is they are kind of required to do charitable things. And they think that the left is more charitable. And in some ways they are, in that they are very generous with other people's money.
Yeah. They give it to Somalis.
So yeah, there's I guess a lot to unwrap with the traditional Jewish folks, and I have no problem with them. But some of the stereotypes are true, in that they tend to be running a lot of things, and that's primarily because if you look at IQ and you look at what it takes to be successful in life,
and then they're all lawyers.
The two biggest predictors are IQ and conscientiousness. And culturally, they're very conscientious, they're hardworking and orderly. And then Ashkenazi Jews have the highest average IQ in any ethnicity at 112 to 115, which is, I believe, one standard deviation above the median.
So yeah, recently a Tyler Oliveira video came out, and he was exposing this Jewish town in New York, and it kind of clicked for me how they have so much control. It's because the guys would all stay there and they'd be unemployed and they just study the Bible all day, and all they do is study all day. And then once they're like 40 or 50, they're like excellent lawyers. They, like they study the Torah, but they read all the rules and all the shit, and they know how to manipulate the system because they study everything. They've got all day.
Well, the Jews in particular, what skews the average IQ is verbal acuity. So if you look at what the Jews gravitate towards, it's careers that require that. So being an attorney, you have to be very good at reading comprehension and speaking.
And they do all that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not like it's some sort of corrupt system where only Jews are allowed to do this sort of shit.
No,
they just happen to be some of the most competent people at it.
Yeah.
So there's going to always be a disproportionate number of Jews in higher forms of government, business, and particularly when it comes to law.
Law, yeah.
Law and
if you understand the law, that's really where you can amass power and control, I think.
And manipulate the law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. So the next question I have for you is, what would you recommend to a young man that's entering the trades nowadays? What would you do if you were 18 going into work right now? Would you join the union? Would you try and learn what you can? Would you go to school?
I think that depends on what you want to do. So if you're somebody that is not risk averse, I mean, if you're somebody who likes to take risks, then going into business is probably a good thing. But as far as tradespeople go, wages are being driven down significantly by foreign-born people coming here. Mexicans and also Ukraine and Russia. And so I probably earn half of what I did 20 years ago. And at my age, I don't really want to,
go out there and grind hella hard.
Grind for 40 hours a week and make half of what I used to make. But if you're in business to where you're hiring these people, that's where you can make some money. But then you have to be very organized. You have to have a lot of money, and you have to be well connected. So that's what you're getting into if you want to be a businessman. And if you're not, you just want to be.
I think most guys are just going out and getting jobs nowadays.
So if you want to get a job, then I would definitely go union. And I'm not the union kind of guy because I don't like the idea of markets manipulated because it's not prevailing wage means that you make twice as much as everybody else because you're in this club.
Yeah.
Which, if I'm earning the money, that's great. But the reality is the rest of the public has to pay for that.
Yep. And it sucks too. It's like I worked on like one prevailing wage job, and I was like a newer guy at the company, so they only let me on it for 4 hours, and they sent me to other jobs. But all the guys who've been working there for forever, they were putting them on. But like my boss didn't want to be giving me $70 an hour, so he only kept like 3 of like the most senior members there.
Yeah,
and it was like, so it's like you gotta think, like, even with that prevailing wage shit, there's other bullshit going on. It's not even like the young 18-year-old guy who actually needs the money the most. Like, my car fucking windows don't work, and I'm barely getting let on the prevailing wage site. So it's like, yeah. But I wasn't in a union company, but that was like one of the few jobs. I did get 4 hours there and got like $70 an hour. It was cool, but
it's damn good money.
Damn good money. Building a medical place in Winters, putting in gas lines.
So the highest prevailing wage union worker is an elevator mechanic, which I'm not surprised.
Oh,
the average is $120 an hour.
Dude, that shit's probably scary. That shit's probably kind of scary though. You got to be height. You're probably like 80 floors up in a shaft on a line though. Sometimes
that's probably pretty sketchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything beyond 20 feet, you're dead. So who cares?
What if you what if you're just trying to go get a job out at your local contractor, non-union?
Well, I think it's pretty tough right here.
Yeah, but how, would you just call local businesses? How would you try and get hired? Maybe
I would, honestly, God, start commercial, and as a commercial union plumber, and then if you want to be able to start a business, you can kind of learn residential and commercial, and you'll kill it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's one of the highest paid trades. Electrical is another really good one. And I really like electrical because you can stay clean. You don't have to work in shit.
Electricians are gay. That is just a warning to all of you that may see this video entering the trades. If you become an electrician, then you're gay.
They complain the most.
You're gonna have to suck a dick at the end of your certification. They don't tell you that part, but I'll let you know. You're gonna have a dick out there for you. So you have to suck this, and then you're an electrician. You will give you your license. So,
which is why I never went into it.
yeah. You turned around right at that part.
This is a dick-free zone right here.
So, next question. Did you dig a hole in your kitchen leading to a basement without informing your local municipalities?
Oh, God. I would never do such a thing.
Oh. So, no, I did hear that you made a basement once.
I did. I dug it out.
Why was that, Dad? What exactly was
golly? Well,
I rolled down the stairs into that basement. But
well, now that the statute of limitations,
we were like playing with the ship, and I rolled backwards and fell all the way down it. I should see the stairs in my eyes right now, like as I'm rolling.
that explains the brain damage.
Yeah. No, that was a cool basement though. You made like a gym set down there, and
then we dug it out farther, and we made a laundry room and an office.
Was that the gayest project that you've ever had to do?
Well, I didn't suck any dicks on that one, so no, it was pretty heterosexual. No, but let's see, it had a little bit of a basement in it. It was just a dugout that you can't get in from the side. But what I did is I made it much bigger, and we dug it out with 5-gallon buckets, and we dumped it out in the backyard.
Yeah. So how was the digging part? Was that one of the gayest things you've ever had to do in your life, right there, or is it up there?
It was a pain in the ass. It took forever.
I've done
digging, no.
Yeah, but digging in a basement sucks because, like you said, you got to take it out of the buckets and climb out.
Okay, so it must have taken months.
We
had months,
yeah, we had to do it a lot of bullshit like that at a foundation company I worked for, and it was.
So get to the point of why you dug that basement.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Why did I dig it?
You were a botanist.
So this was during the 1980s, and I was working construction, and I had a little more money than the average person on a construction site for some reason. And I was making minimum wage, so one of the bosses asked me, how do you afford to do this stuff? And so I told him, at that time I was selling weed, and I was growing a little bit, and they were like, interesting. And they figured out how lucrative it was. Like, hey, are you interested in putting together an indoor pot farm? I said, sure, let's do it. And so they ended up buying this house in the middle of a college town that had a semi-basement, just a dirt hole underneath it. And we dug it out like five times that deep. And it probably took me 3 or 4 months to dig it out by hand and bury the dirt and build up cinder blocks and put in a floor there. And then we covered it up and put in a secret hatch underneath my office.
All right, so I got one question for you. Before you just obviously leave out some of the details, where did you put all that dirt?
Well, I set it out into the backyard, and so it ended up being like 4 or 5 inches deeper in the rest of the backyard.
It's not like that backyard was enormous.
Yeah, what?
No, it wasn't, but I think it was a pretty low-lying area before that.
Okay,
so I was able to just put it out there. So anyway, so then we covered it up, and I started growing weed there.
Nice.
Indoor, which was a little sketchy because back in the 80s, I mean, if I would have gotten caught with that many plants, which was a couple hundred plants, yeah, I might have gotten 5 or 10 years in prison for that one. So that was kind of a biggie. That was a huge risk. But I kind of covered my ass in a lot of ways. One thing, I had 3 power meters running to it, and I had a fake business. So I had a kiln service, and I had a business license. And then I had 1 meter going to a house next door, and then my meter. So I split the power between the 3.
Damn.
And then I had my partner, who I
that's smart, actually.
gave the weed to, who gave it to his brother. So I was twice removed from any selling.
Yeah.
And so I just lived a double life, and I stopped speaking to any of my old friends who I used to party with and who were still into drugs and things like that. And I stopped doing any drugs, and I just started growing weed.
Nice.
So I did that for about a decade, and lived a double life, and I didn't tell anybody about it until about 20 years after I stopped doing it.
So listen, fuck the government, dig your own basement, Fuck them people.
Grow your own weed.
Fuck the codes. We pay too much taxes for this bullshit.
Yes, I ended up doing a shitload of work to that house and all of it without permits. And then at the end, when we went to sell the house, we had to do a resale inspection, and they were, let's say I had a new record of the greatest number of remodels on that property with 0 permits taken.
Hell yeah.
Did they charge you for that?
So they charged me the cost of the permit double, and that was about it, which made it cheaper than doing it the right way.
So one more construction question for you, and then we can kind of move on from the subject. But just wanted you to kind of go over the story of the housing market crash, how it affected you and the house that you made over there when you were living at the time. So you built a big house and the housing market collapsed, right? So kind of just go over that story, because I don't think a lot of people know how that housing market collapse affected everyone who owned a house at the time, you know, and I think you had a fun situation there, but.
So we can call it John Street.
What are we calling it?
John Street?
Yeah.
Okay, John Street. Okay, wow. So anyway, I always wanted to be a custom builder. In fact, I used to draw like mansions when I was in junior high school in drafting class. And so I always wanted to do that. And it can be very lucrative at times, but it just really depends on, you know, how the economy is going. But at the time,
I just want to say that this house was fucking sick. It was dope. It was a dope.
it was full on MTV Cribs house. 5,000 square feet with waterfalls and 2.5 acres and pond and fully landscaped and electric gates coming in and everything. So at that time, it was like, it was a couple $1 million. That's probably easily $3
And you built the whole thing yourself and drew the plans?
Yep.
Sweet.
But I did. We completed it in right about 2008, which is right when the real estate crash happened. And so it went from $2 million to about $800,000 in a matter of 2 years. And I couldn't find any work. I was going door to door.
Oh.
Anybody and everyone. And little do most people know. I mean, the Barney Franks of the world claim that the housing crisis happened with because of greedy. What would they call it? Something lending. They called it predatory lending, which was fucking horseshit. The reality is, the government required banks to make these loans because they had the stupid idea that everybody should own a home. So people with shit credit, people that couldn't afford it, needed to be included in the American dream. So, and minorities probably got screwed the worst because, I mean, if you were a minority, then you had really special status. And so if you had 90% debt to income, oh, come on in, buy this house, no problem. So of course this is a house of cards, guaranteed to collapse, and that's what happened. So that's why it went from 2 million to 800,000. And so we ended up being like $300,000 in the hole eventually after borrowing money just to make the payments for 3 years.
So you eventually sold it for
Jack shit.
jack shit. But you lived in it for like 7 years?
It was longer than that. Really, like a decade.
Well, at least you got to live in a cool house.
It was fucking brutal.
It was more of a prison, really.
Yeah. Well, the waterfall in the back was nice.
It was.
So, yeah, that was kind of my last construction question. I just, not many people think about that. My mom owned a house at the time, and I don't know exactly what happened, but I remember hers went from like 700,000 to like 4 or something. It's, everyone got fucked everywhere, man.
Yeah, and really, it was the government that set the whole thing up. The idea that the banks were responsible, and they were loaning people money who couldn't pay back, and that's how they were making money. It's just the dumbest thing. How do you convince the public that a bank loaning money to somebody who couldn't pay it back was profitable?
Yeah. The government's been fucking us.
But the reality is, most banks are getting money from the federal government, and that's how they make money. So the banks, the federal government said, hey, we're not going to give you any money for these loans unless you loan to these people over here who would not normally qualify. We have nothing down, no skin in the game, and we'll walk away at any time if the interest rates go up or if they decide they can't make a payment or whatever. So I just created that house of cards that guaranteed a collapse.
Okay, well, I'm gonna ask you this question, then I'm gonna go grab a twisted tea real quick. I can walk out.
I got it.
Your mathematical calculations. We're gonna kind of move to the more fun part of the interview, but your mathematical calculations have led you to believe that the moon landing is false, and we're not talking about the more new one, the Artemis mission. That shit looked a little bit cheesy, but I haven't done much research. But you don't believe that we went to the moon landings?
Well, I don't really believe or disbelieve much of anything. So it's a percentage.
Mm-hmm.
So there are all kinds of theories as to why we didn't go and what was faked and not faked. And then somebody comes along and says, no.
For the record,
this is a plausible reason why this doesn't look right. And this is a plausible reason for this. And this is why NASA lied about that. And that's not really concrete evidence. What is concrete evidence is the math. So von Braun in 1959, he was the Nazi scientist who was really one of the head scientists on the Apollo missions, said that the only way to get to the moon, land on the moon, take off and come back, you would need rockets to refuel. And the equivalent weight of those rockets was the equivalent of three Queen Marys, which I think is 800,000.
Three Queen Marys? What the fuck is that? A building?
It's a ship. That's the ship that took soldiers. That actually took my grandfather back from
like
Europe.
A battleship?
No,
Or
it was like a cruise ship, and that actually took my grandfather back from Europe after he got out of the war, in the Second World War. It's a massive, massive ship.
Mm-hmm.
So the rockets required to meet up with a lunar rocket in low Earth orbit was the equivalent of three Queen Marys. So that's what he said in 1959, and then a couple of years later he revised that, and he was off by like 3,900 times or something like that. But then he came back and said, oh no, we can actually do this. And so, fine, maybe he's off. I don't think so. He's one of the most brilliant people on Earth. But then Elon Musk says the same thing. This is maybe 3 years ago. And so does NASA. Several times NASA has said, yeah, we don't know we can't get to the moon without massive refueling.
Holy shit, that's a big ship.
That's a big fucking ship.
What?
Yeah.
No.
3 of those.
Oh my God.
So that was the claim from von Braun, who was the lead scientist in NASA, and that's also the claim of Elon Musk as of 2 years ago, and same with NASA. And these were NASA scientists, astronauts that were in orbit saying, yeah, we need this much refueling.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that's actually changed. So if it takes that much refueling now with the technology that we have, how the fuck did they pull it off in 1969? I think that's probably just the side of impossible.
So I haven't looked into it much, the new one, but I was like, bro, if you're going up there and the plan is to make a base and you're going to go all the way there for the first time, it's like even back in the day they said, like they send shuttles like to drop shit off, but it's like, why didn't they try and drop anything off? Like, you know what I mean? For future missions, they just did a flyby on the moon. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, the thing is, if you're flying by, you're going by at 25,000 miles an hour. You have to stop that. And I don't think brakes will work out there.
So not your conventional ones. No,
yeah,
you're going to...
I don't think they can throw an anchor with a chain out the window and have it land on it and slow them down. They have to use rockets. So that takes an enormous amount of energy to slow a rocket down from 25,000 miles to zero. Then it has to beat the gravitational pull, is about 1/6 of Earth, coming back down on the moon, and then has to blast off and then accelerate to 25,000 miles an hour again. It's an enormous amount of energy. So the lunar lander just doesn't have that much fuel capacity. Not even close. And that's why they would need such significant refueling.
Yeah.
And they still need it today. So rocket technology today is so much better than it was in 1969.
The best argument...
It just doesn't make any sense to me mathematically. How is it possible?
The best argument that I heard for the moon landing, because I don't believe we went there either, was at your family's Thanksgiving. I forget how it was related, but he was like, well, I know we were there because we left mirrors there. And then, so I looked up the mirrors, and 2 of them were planted by NASA when we went on the moon landings. And the other 3 were planted by the Russians with drones. So I was like, his argument was that we put the mirrors there, like in person. But I'm like, the Russians did it with drones. So that means we could have done it with drones if we even fucking put them there. And also, a weird thing with the moon landing is the Russians were so far ahead of us in all of their technology, and we were just like,
and then we went rocketing past it.
yeah. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't. The timeline doesn't add up. The technology doesn't add up. Stanley Kubrick being alive is bad for their case, because he was fucking so good at filming space scenes. What was that movie?
2001.
Yeah.
Space Odyssey.
If you watch that shit, you'll be like, oh, the moon landing was fake. Yeah, that's literally, if you watch that movie, I'm like, this guy could so easily have done.
And wasn't that like 1967 or 65?
Yeah. It's better than the moon landing. It's more like real. I'm like, so it's like, if he could make that movie look that spacey, then how? Yeah, he could fucking. So watch that movie.
There is some of the photographs that lead me to believe that it was fake also. So if you look at the lunar lander.
And they forgot how to make the rocket, by the way.
Well, they lost the photos.
They lost all the photo negatives. And then they lost all the technology and all the recording to the telemetry. Yeah. It just seems a little fishy to me.
A little bit odd. All right, next question. Who do you think killed JFK? Have you been into this rabbit hole?
Well, I mean, clearly he was shot from the front, and that was the fatal shot. Because it blew his brains out, which landed on the truck.
You don't believe in the magic bullets?
No, I believe in physics.
Oh.
So anyway, he
look at this fucking
shot from the front, and I was recently listening, all the people that were in the ER room at the time, this was maybe 5 years ago, they were recorded. I think most of them were all of them still alive. I said, clearly, he had a bullet hole in the front, which exited out the rear and blew a giant chunk of scalp out of the way.
Yeah, and so the sniper's supposed to be behind him.
And then his brain ended up on the trunk, and Jackie ran back there and grabbed it and was bringing it to the doctor. She was in panic.
Yeah, but the official story is he's behind it, right?
Of course, yeah.
So you're saying the bullet went in the front and blew his brains out, but according to the official story, he's back here in a window, right? The car is coming down, so he would have. If that guy shot him in the back of the head, it would have come out his face.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Bullets don't turn around mid-flight at supersonic speeds.
No. So isn't their magic bullet like it shot him in the chest, ricocheted, and then went out the back of his head or some shit? Like it's fucking
negative. Didn't happen. So who did it? I mean, that's a good question. So why was he killed also? So
Just what do you know about it?
So I think my best guess is LBJ was probably behind it. CIA was definitely involved. And if you think about it, so we know that JFK, right before he was killed, was moving us from Vietnam. And we had reached the point where we had 85 casualties at that point. So 85 killed, and he said, fuck it, we're out of here. He's killed, and then LBJ takes over and immediately starts ramping up.
Sends more.
And they ended up topping out at 550,000 troops in a fairly short period of time, which is just a complete...
500,000 soldiers dead or deployed?
Deployed total in the field.
That's 550,000 fucking people in the fucking Vietnam jungle. Holy shit!
And the thing is, he and McNamara, which was his is it Secretary of State? I can't remember what it was, but effectively he was the analyst who was trying to help LBJ from the war room run the war, which is just moronic because neither one of them had any military experience. So they didn't really know what the fuck they were doing. It just, McNamara was a very smart guy. He was an analyst for Ford before that. And they did an utter shit job at it. So we lost that war in part because two idiots thought that they were smarter than all the military experts. Because they're fucking narcissists, that's what it came down to. So Ford, as it turns out, strongly suspected, or he knew that the CIA was involved in the assassination. He actually called out the head of the CIA on tape. So he actually recorded a lot of shit. This is one of the things he did. He said, and we know you're involved. The CIA director didn't respond. And not too long after that was Watergate. And Watergate was a break-in of the Democrat
The
National
DNC
Committee or something like
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
So there was kind of a
Such a weird fucking.
double cross going on with that. I'm not sure exactly what was going on with it, but the people that broke in, I think all but one were CIA operatives.
Such a weird story. That's kind of like, Hitler did something similar to Watergate, when he took power.
I think Watergate, in part, was a total setup to get rid of Nixon because Nixon was on to the CIA.
They fucked him.
They fucked him. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I think Nixon was a great president. I think he was a fairly smart guy. He was analytical. But he was a little crooked. I don't think he was involved. I don't think the mainstream media thinks he was involved in the actual break-in. But it was definitely involved in the cover-up. But can you blame him for that one? I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably not. But I think the CIA took him out. And then who was his vice president? Well, they got rid of Spiro Agnew, which is his original vice president, on some sort of tax charge he had to resign. And then he ended up with Ford. Now, the Democrats wouldn't accept anybody but Gerald Ford for strange reason. But as it turns out, Gerald Ford was part of the Warren Commission that was part of the cover-up to the JFK assassination. So, I mean, our government lies to us all the time, and so does the media.
Yeah, so I remember that. So, like, afterwards, too, all the people that investigated it were, like, the people that were most likely to fuck and kill them. Yeah.
That's the way it always works.
That'd be like, yeah, so Epstein just killed himself. We're going to have Hillary Clinton look into it.
It's kind of like the J6 committee. Those Senate committees are required to have, I think, at least 3 opposition people. This one had 0. I mean, I think there was 2 Republicans, but they both hated Donald Trump's guts. So it was against the rules. It was illegal. So obviously they were to come up with the results that they wanted, which was, Donald Trump, he created this, which was horseshit. I mean, it was probably Nancy Pelosi. She was definitely involved. She had the authority to bring in the National Guard. And if you listen to the interview with the original chief of police, Capitol Police Chief, she wouldn't take his calls. And he was just begging, we need to bring the National Guard in. She wouldn't take his call. Because she wanted to make sure that it was
and
went as badly as possible, so she had the optics.
You know what's funny too? We only know that for sure because her fucking daughter filmed it or something. Or her secretary filmed her on call saying "Oh, don't bring him in."
But there was actual documents to prove that Donald Trump was asking for the National Guard to come in.
Yeah. So
he was asking for the National Guard, but the reality is he didn't have the power to do it. It is actually the Sergeant at Arms in the House of Representatives that has the power, and he answers to Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House.
The only person who died that day was Ashley fucking Babbitt. Rest in peace.
And the thing is, she was not threatening anybody. If you look at the video,
and the left
a window and a door.
The left acts like it's the fucking greatest atrocity of all time. They had a candlelight vigil on the front steps, they're all crying.
It was a setup.
The only person who died was that chick.
90-pound woman who wasn't threatening anybody.
Yeah, it's just what the fuck are you crying about? You guys fucking are happy she died, and then you guys all these cops were injured, and it's you see all the cops just waving people through.
So I don't understand why you can't watch dozens of cops literally pull people into the building. Then they all get pardoned.
Yeah.
And you can't put 2 and 2 together.
And fuck you guys. You stole that election and we own that building. So fuck you. I believe it's the people's and not yours. So we want to fucking riot and fucking take over because you stole the election. That's why we're here. Because you're stealing the fucking election, you anti-democratic fucks. All right. Anyways, let's move on to the next question here.
Did you get that one all on?
Yes.
You gotta lean back a little bit, brother.
Sorry. What's it like to have a gay son?
Is this your way of telling me coming out?
Hey now. Hold on.
All right, so okay. He's bisexual, but no. Would you rather? There's a recent trend kind of popping back up, but it's an age-old question. So, would you rather have a gay son or a whore daughter?
I'm taking the gay son. To be honest,
it's tough. It's tough, but
yeah, that's a tough question.
I mean, I guess the whore daughter, because like maybe she'll be
But she's like,
a whore for like 30 years, then get
Am I the
over it.
pimp? Am I the pimp in this case?
No, you just birthed them and you get to watch their destruction. I don't know, but you got to pick one. What's it gonna be?
Ah, God, I'd just shoot both of them.
Such an asshole.
He says abortion is his answer. Okay.
We can abort after what, 15 years, can we?
Yeah. I think in California it's legal. So how would you describe fatherhood and what advice would you give to new parents? Specifically guys. We don't really need women advice. Do you avoid
Fucking worthless.
do you avoid the child as much as possible?
I like to beat my son. It's just, it gives me a lot of pleasure.
Yeah. But like,
A lot bigger than a mouse.
how do you deal with like, them in like the toddler age?
Beatings, mostly, I think. It keeps them in line.
Did you ever like put him in like a barrel for a day or something, like in a box, like in the sun or
I
something?
didn't need to, unfortunately. That would have been a great excuse to maybe fuck him up a little bit. But no, he was actually a kid, so. No, I didn't really even have to raise my voice. But I had kind of shitty parents, so I kind of did the opposite of what they did. So we just spent a long time together, hung out, rode motorcycles. I think if he thought he did badly, he would punish himself. So I didn't really need to.
You think?
Yeah. He had a guilty conscience, so
Don't sit in the
I can
street
work
corner.
that against him.
Yeah. All right. So we sorry, I lost my place here. What type of music are you listening to nowadays, or what kind of podcasts and YouTubers? Like, what kind of content have you been consuming?
Tim Pool is probably who I get most of my news from, and I think he's like me. He's very analytical, and he understands that everything is a nuance. It's not like 100%. It's like the moon landing. I'm about 75% convinced that we didn't go.
Yeah.
I'll probably never be 100%, even if the state comes out and says, "Yeah, we faked it." Then I'd be at 98%. Maybe they're lying now.
Yeah. I'd be more convinced if we really go back and land there again, and they're live streaming it this time.
Well, the thing is, the technology. It's 50 years later.
Yeah, I know.
So,
and like I said,
if they can do it now, that doesn't mean we could do it 50 years ago.
No, but I would have been more convinced if we did it.
If we can't do it now without refueling, we definitely couldn't do it in 1969.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, we still can't do it now. As of 2 years ago, both NASA and SpaceX said we can't do it without refueling. And their rocket technology is infinitely greater.
So you got Tim Pool.
Tim Pool was one of my favorites, yeah.
You still
I like listening to Stephen Crowder.
Yeah.
I don't think Crowder is quite as objective. I mean, obviously, he's kind of a Rush Limbaugh type in that he's on one side, whereas Tim Pool, I think.
Yeah.
Tim Pool is philosophically more.
Crowder's entertaining though.
Crowder's funny as fuck.
Yeah.
And I think he's as objective as he can be.
I've never
caught him just lying or manipulating. He just says, "This is my opinion based on A, B, and C, and here's all the documentation from all the sources. You can go look it up for yourself."
I love his videos of the prove me wrong ones where he does the one-on-one people, like the Charlie Kirk style, but he does it for like an hour with someone. I really like those.
I really like Charlie Kirk's style. He's extremely polite. He was a very nice guy.
Rest in peace.
But the guy was so fucking smart. He was so articulate. And I'm not a religious guy, but the way he would talk about religion, the Bible, and sort of thing, it was just mind-blowing. He would be talking to religious scholars and just fucking blowing them away. This guy is not a
No, he had a
priest.
super good memory. He had to have a super good memory. He never had any like notes really or anything. He just always off the top of his head.
Yep.
Rest in peace. But yeah, so you got Crowder, you got Tim Pool. What kind of music? Anything? You still listening to old music?
It's the same three bands.
Same three bands. Yeah, just fucking old over the hill.
It's like Disturbed, Tool, and like Avenged Sevenfold, and maybe.
Well, I mean, I still love Tool. Greta Van Fleet. I really love Greta Van Fleet. From junior high school on, Led Zeppelin has been like my all-time favorite band, and they kind of copy Led Zeppelin to a degree. I mean, it's not exact, but it's like a modern version of Led Zeppelin. Love the guy's voice. I don't know if they're doing much anymore, but I love headbanging music. Not all of it, of course, but it just gives me an adrenaline rush that I used to feel when I was racing motorcycles, cars. Just such an adrenaline rush from that.
Okay, so who's your favorite president or politician of all time, alive or dead?
Alive or dead? Well, Lincoln would be the top one because he freed the slaves. And most people don't know because they grew up with liberal teachers. The Republican Party was founded just a few years before he became president. And it was founded as the anti-slavery party. And the Democrat Party was founded as a pro-slavery party. They were the party of the KKK.
They're still funding the KKK today.
Because they need to keep racism alive and well in the minds of every left-wing person who thinks they're fucking better than everybody else.
Oh my God.
No, they're the party of racism.
Fucking ass.
They fucking suck ass.
So you think Abe Lincoln number one?
Abe Lincoln would definitely be number one. I mean,
is it tied with Teddy though? Teddy was awesome.
Teddy, with Teddy Roosevelt, it was mostly about the character that he was.
He was a bad motherfucker.
He was fucking fearless, like Donald Trump is fearless. I mean, he did some crazy, crazy shit, and ultimately, I think it probably killed him. He got some sort of stomach bug when he was out in the Amazon or something. But the guy was fearless. The guy was fucking fearless. He even went and fought in a war in Cuba. Yeah. And was charging on his horse in the front of the cavalry. It's like, you were insane, dude. Just going right into the hail of bullets.
So, just to talk for a second, one of my favorite stories that I ever heard of Teddy Roosevelt was somewhat of his childlike excitement that he had. And he used to play games with his guests, even like people that were, some sort of political
dignitaries.
Yeah, so he would play games, and one of his favorite games was you have to go in a straight line as far as you can. So if you run into a tree, you have to climb over it. And there would be times where he'd be out there with some like crazy political leader and be climbing over a cabin or something like that, or a really tall tree. Because
that's hilarious.
Yeah. But he wasn't even supposed to live when he was a child. The doctor said he wouldn't make it past like 10 years old or something.
And the funny thing is, I mean, he was a conservative, but he considered himself a progressive. He's like the first one to call himself a progressive. But he actually believed in progress, unlike the current progressives who are just fucking clueless. Yeah, fucking idiots that don't understand their options at all, don't even contemplate them. But he actually was, and he did a lot for health safety and meat packing plants and things like that. That I think we would all agree. We all agree that sort of was a good thing.
All right, so that is your favorite was Abe Lincoln.
Abe Lincoln, and I would say probably. I mean, Teddy, not because of necessarily all the things that he did, but just because he was such an interesting character. And I think the next most important one would be George Washington, just because he was one of the founders of the country, he was the first president. And he could have become king, but he said, "Fuck that! This is the people running the country. I'm not going to be a king."
He just wanted to retire. He didn't even want to be president.
No, and that's the person you want in charge. It's like the
guy who doesn't.
It's like in Gladiator, where Maximus has been given. Caesar tells Maximus, "I want you to take over my power." And Maximus says, "With all my heart, please no, I don't want this." But that made him the kind of guy that you really wanted to run the country. If somebody didn't want the power.
All right, so I got like 2-3 more questions for you, just real quick, kind of yes or no's, and then we'll wrap this up. And we'll at the end we'll shout out whoever we want to collab with. But so real quick, do you think Epstein is still alive?
Highly doubtful. Again, it's one of those never 100%.
Yeah.
Highly doubtful, but I would say that Epstein probably was a CIA operative, and my best guess is that he was probably blackmailing all kinds of influential leaders, and blackmail so that our country can get all the information that it wants.
Do you believe Joe Biden won the presidential election with the most votes in American history?
Well, I can't prove that he stole the election, but the more evidence I see, the more I think it probably is true.
You don't think that it was totally legit?
Fuck no, not even close. I mean, obviously there was all kinds of fraud, but that doesn't mean there's enough fraud.
They
I don't
definitely.
have enough solid evidence to say
I think.
conclusively.
I think they boosted at least. They gave him a cool 10 million or
He
something.
got 81 million votes. Nobody's even come close.
Yeah,
That tells me that there were a lot of fake.
I
votes.
think they gave him a little boost. Just a little push over the edge.
Not even close. It's more than a little boost. But if I had to bet my life on it, I would say they stole the election.
Yeah.
If I had to bet my life.
Is your favorite pastime arguing with retards on Facebook?
I don't get a lot of challengers these days, which really fucking pisses me off.
I know they all went to Blue Sky.
No, it's just because the thing is, if the other person's lying, you can shred them.
Yeah.
I have no problem admitting, like Donald Trump's an asshole and a narcissist. I have no problem saying something that I know is true. I also think he is the right president for this time.
Yeah.
But he's a
better than every other fucking president.
I have no problem saying he lies and exaggerates all the time.
Yeah.
Because it's true. I'm not gonna pretend.
Always attach yourself to an idea, not a person.
Exactly.
But I love Trump.
He comes the closest to anyone I've ever seen in my lifetime. As far as what I think should be.
So who do you think we should collab with? Anyone you want on the podcast?
Collaborate with somebody else on a different podcast?
Yeah, any famous person?
Rogan, of course. I mean,
Rogan?
I think he's probably, we got him on hold right now, don't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rogan, we need evil Jamie and normal Jamie to meet. So that'd be cool. Sam Hyde, Asmongold. And yeah, we're gonna
Asmongold would actually be sick.
So he's just did another episode of his podcast, but yeah, we're gonna wrap this one up. Thank you guys for watching. If you did all the way through, like and subscribe. See you on the next one.
Why is my dad gay?